This video is two guides in one. If you're looking to get the Theta container, the best secure container in Tarkov other than Kappa, you're in the right place. And if you're looking to win at checkpoint more often in Arena, I'll be showing a deep dive on this as well because it's how I get the Theta container personally. But first, technically you can get Theta without owning Arena at all, but you can lose the chance to do this if you miss one critical piece of information, which is when to complete the quest Balancing Part 1. This is part of the Theta quest chain, but it specifically gives you a 3-day Tarkov Arena free trial, which you can use to get Theta without owning Arena at all if you do it fast enough. Theta is easier to get than Epsilon that needs Punisher Part 6 and is bigger than even the EOD and Unheard Gamma cases with 10 slots, and I've done a video in the past about this questline that leads up to Theta, but I didn't really talk about how to actually win in Arena specifically. Since then, I've had loads of people come into my live chat struggling with actually getting the Arena part done, which is the section of the questline called To Great Heights. However, if you complete Balancing Part 1 when you're not ready, you won't have time to get through the rest of the questline in the 3-day period, and Theta will be locked away until you prestige or you wipe your account manually, given that this one is likely now to be your permanent character. So before you start, there's a few prerequisites. You need to have 3 Class 4 Found in Raid armor plates. When I did it last time, it couldn't be back plates from the 6B13 for some reason. That might be fixed now, but I wouldn't risk it. And you also need to have 3 TNT bricks because you have to place these down partway through the questline. Let's just run quickly through the full questline and then look at how we actually are going to win in Arena. Firstly, you have to accept Burning Rubber from Skier once you've got him unlocked, which is the car quest on Ground Zero, but you don't have to do it. You should get Easy Money Part 1, so this is where you have to take the poster and plant it in Fortress on Customs. This can be easy or it can be really annoying, and they cost quite a lot of money to buy a new one from him, so my advice would be to stay right until the end of the raid and plant it right at the end, unless you are really close, in which case run in and plant it straight away. Make sure you bring a green flare so that you can get out through the Rail Tracks green flare extract on Customs once you've planted it down. If you've never used this before, go and try it out in offline mode before you do, because it's claimed even my PMC in the past because it's a little bit fiddly. You have to make sure that you're up on the rail lines. So after Easy Money Part 1, you get Easy Money Part 2. You need 5 food and drink found in raid for ref. This is super easy. Then you go into Balancing Part 1, which is 5 Org Scav kills. Once you press complete on this, you will unlock the 3-day Arena trial. If you have Arena already, you can take as long as you like. If you don't have Arena, you must not press complete until you're going to have like 3 days clear ahead of you. Maybe it's a Friday or something, so that you're going to have Friday, Saturday and Sunday to complete these quests. Here is where the Theta questline tree splits in two. You've got the part in the base game and you've got the part in Arena. The part in the base game, you have Balancing Part 2, which is 2 PMC kills wearing a packer on any map. Then you have Surprise, which is giving in the 3 Found in Raid Class 4 plates that we talked about before. Then we have Create a Distraction. This is where we take our 3 TNTs, and you can put them in your secure container, that's fine. And you have to put them in Ground Zero in the cafe, which is opposite the bank. On the Arena side, we open up to Great Heights. Great Heights Part 1 is win a match in Last Hero, which is the freefall mode, or Checkpoint, which is the domination mode. Great Heights Part 2 is win in Teamfight, Blast Gang, or Checkpoint. Blast Gang is like the Search and Destroy mode, and Teamfight is the non-respawning 5v5 mode. I don't really play this very much. Great Heights Part 3, you have to win 2 matches, coming 3rd place in, again, Teamfight, Blast Gang, or Checkpoint. This means you have to be 3rd out of 5 on your team, and I know some people have struggled with this one in particular because you do need to get kills for this specifically, but you don't need to win them back to back. Then Great Heights Part 4, this is win 3 without losing 4. This is probably the hardest because you have to pay ref 1,000,000 rubles to give it a try. So if you have an under 50% win rate, the chances are you're going to lose your 1,000,000 rubles, and if you fail, you have to pay it to him again. The saving grace is that you do get 2.5 million once you complete it, but we basically just need to up your win rate so that you're more likely to complete this than not, and we'll do that in a minute when I go into my checkpoint deep dive. Then we have Great Heights Part 5, where you have to win 2 in a row. There's no penalty to this, so you just have to win 2 in a row. Some people, it just takes them a long time, but at least it doesn't cost you anything. Then the 2 quest trees merge back together. You've got 3 more quests against the Conscience. Number 1, you have to get a Dorm's Overseer key. They spawn in the Smuggler base on Shoreline, but you can just buy them off the flea. You have to go to the room twice, so buy a 2-use key. You go into Dorms and you use the Dorm's Overseer room key. It is the one between 209 and 211 in the 3-story dorms, and you just have to go in and then leave and survive. Then you get another Arena questline, which is Against the Conscience Part 2. You just need 100 kills in arenas. You can just do this in any way that you like. Last Hero is probably the fastest because you get into the most fights. Back to the Dorm's Overseer room and take a diary out of the dead body inside. And obviously survive. You then either hand it in defense or ref, depending on who you want the rep for, but either way, you get the Theta container. So where most people get stuck here is trying to complete Great Heights Part 3, 4, and 5. And as I said, I always complete these on Checkpoint. Other people have great success doing them on Teamfight or Blast Gang, but I prefer Checkpoint personally. It's how I do it, and it's really the only game mode that I play other than Last Hero. So that's why this guide is going to focus on Checkpoint, because I really do think that there are some tips and tricks that you can use to swing the win rate in your favor. Right now I'm sitting on a 70% win rate. I only play by myself. I'm solo queuing in Checkpoint. I never play with anybody else. And I think that just goes to show the disproportionate effect you can have on your team. And even if your win rate doesn't get that high, just swaying the battle in your favor will be enough, hopefully, to improve your score and get you through these quests a little bit faster. So how exactly are we going to win on Checkpoint? Let's whip through the mechanics to start with, and we will build it up from there. So the capture mechanics, there are 3 capture points around the map. Your team accumulates score points by holding these locations. If you hold one of them, you get 1 point a second. If you hold 2, you get 2 points a second. If you hold all 3, you get 6 points a second, and they get 0. This is really hard to come back from if it goes on for more than about 30 seconds to a minute. So on Bay 5, for example, you have one capture point, which is down there, which is C. You have B, which is in the middle, and you have A, which is over there. So a few critical parts about the capture points themselves, which really does dictate why we're going to do what we're going to do, is that having more people on the point doesn't speed up the capture. Capping the point takes 7 seconds, no matter whether there's one of you or the entire team of 5 there. The second point is that getting shot on the capture point increases the timer by 2 seconds. So if I place my other character on here, you can see that we're going to start to capture the objective. If I shoot them, then it starts to reset the capture point back down. So if you're getting shot, you are actually not able to capture the objective at all. If you move off the point, it resets completely. And I guess a kind of niche scenario, but if 2 players are on the point at the same time, then neither of you can cap it because you both stood there. But usually somebody dies pretty quickly in this circumstance. So what does this mean for our strategy? Well, lots of people sit on the caps because you can't get MVP without caps usually. It's a blend of kills and the number of captures that you get. High kills helps, but if you're not getting caps, then you won't end up as MVP. Also, there are many dailies such as cap X number of points or get X number of kills whilst you're on a cap point. And this leads to people to kind of camp the cap points much more than they should. If you purely want the win, you should let your teammates cap and then push over the top of them. I know I've got my guys on opposing teams here, but just say, for example, my dude's come up here and he's on my team and I'm over here and I don't actually need the cap points for anything in particular like dailies, or I really just want to win. I'm going to let him cap the point and I'm going to rush forwards and I'm going to defend from this position over here. This means that if anybody comes through, rather than them running up to here and start fighting our guy here and resetting the capture point because they're shooting him and taking 2 seconds off every time, I'm able to absorb the damage here, and because I'm not on the capture point, even if I die and lose, I'm basically buying this guy time to be able to cap it by the time the enemy team turns up. This is something very, very fundamental that loads of people don't do. This will make a absolutely massive difference, because obviously once it's captured, it's going to take the enemy 7 seconds to take it back off you, and this can take them quite a while, and all the time you're racking up 1 extra point for every second that they fail to take it back. If you are by yourself, this point is not very good for it, so I'll run over to one of the other ones, but I'll show you that basically you want to be buying time as much as possible. Let's take point C, for example. So often if you spawn up in this side of the map, you will run through here, and then you're going to try and take point C. Now, if you just stand on point C and you're fighting people coming through here, again, you're going to have it reset. People can pop out from either up in this container, or they're going to pop out over there, and they're going to start shooting at you, and every little bullet that hits you is going to add 2 seconds back to your cap timer, which is really, really annoying. And what people don't want to do, though, is get headshot when they turn up to the cap point, because it's quite far away from their spawn. So on this one in particular, and I'll go through all of them, and I'll show you which points I think are better than others, but on this one in particular, what I do is I move across to here, into this little section, and you can still cap in here. It's actually really, really hard to see you. Let me just move off so that I can show you that it still does cap. If you're back here, it doesn't work. So you can defend the point from here if you really want to, but you can cap the point from here. What I do is I crouch in and I usually sit like this, and then I listen. And I listen to where people are coming from. And people often will come through and they will try to find you, because most people sit either along this edge here or they go like down here or something. But if you're in that little corner, you can't be seen until right here. And it's really, really annoying. This also works if you're coming from down here as well. You literally can't be seen because your gun is tucked behind this wall, yet you're still capping, and they think like, where are you? And some people, like, they do know, but they have to check every other spot before they get to you. And often that means that you end up managing to cap beforehand. If you crouch down like this, you could still end up swinging out and taking them by surprise and use the peeker's advantage to kill them and then carry on capping. Okay, so now we've gone through capping logic. Now we need to have a look at what information that we have available to us that allow us to make better strategic decisions. So there are basically 3 things that we can look out for. One of them we're used to from playing the base game, which is the audio in the game. If I'm up here, for example, and I'm just looking around, I can hear shots from sort of in the middle section and far away over in that section, and that will tell me something about what is happening. The second part is you have the kill feed. This will pop up when players kill each other, and this will tell you what the outcome of the fight is. So for example, I've ended up here, and I can hear a load of gunshots going off over there, and then I see on the kill feed that my teammate has killed the enemy red player. Well, then I don't need to go down there and I can carry on pushing around here. The final part is the cap progress. You should always be keeping an eye out for whether A, B, or C are being capped or whether they're not capped, because often that can tell you things that change your behavior. It also will stop you from team killing as well. So many times I've been capping a particular point and the bar's been going up, and then a teammate comes around and like shoots me in the leg and then stops. It's like, well, if you just took 2 seconds to look at the cap point thing, you'd know that it was a teammate on that point, and then you wouldn't have shot me. If you combine all of these sources of information, listening to where the gunfights are, looking at the score as it comes down to see who actually won, and then who's capping and who's not capping at any one time, you can actually figure out a lot about where people are and where you might need to go next. If you hear a ton of gunfire, your guy pops up on the scoreboard and your team is still capping a point, well, you probably don't need to go there and you can go and fight somewhere else, or you can go to intercept. You know, if you think these guys are capping over there, then you can push through and try to intercept these dudes because they might be running through this particular area or spawning in here, or you're partly covering B instead. Another really important aspect of Checkpoint that I think is quite fundamental is the fact that the game is basically a game of respawns and moving to the front line. The faster that people can respawn and move to the front line, the better your team is going to perform. Anything that you can do to disrupt this on the enemy team or prevent them from disrupting you is going to positively affect your team. Let's take a look at an example. So most of the time you're going to spawn back in your base. This isn't always how it works, but most of the time it will be the case. And you've got to run to the front line. So if you run down here, the front line is usually in the middle. So you're either going to go down this lane, one of these side lanes, or down this mid lane. Now you're probably going to expect to fight in this particular area, but if there are people from the enemy team here, you know, they're fighting you as you come out of the spawn, that's really, really annoying, and it means that you take a lot longer to get from your spawn point over to here. You know, if you run out of there, for example, and there's a guy right there and he's shooting across, now I'm not allowed to leave my spawn point without, at least I have to check down here, I have to check up here, I have to check down here, and this delays me getting to the middle of the map, which is where the capture point action is probably happening. Likewise, if I can find a route through, and I know that people are spawning and they're really doing a big push over on this side of the map, and I can push right into here, and there's people coming out of there, and I can catch them as they come out of spawn, that's going to stop people from getting into this point, and it's going to alleviate pressure on my own teammates. If I can manage to snag somebody and grab them here and shoot them there, this may mean that a fight that is happening across here, now rather than it being a 2v2, it's now a 2v1, or rather than it being a 2v3, it's now a 2v2. And this can have a really big impact. It might mean that my teammates win the fight and cap, rather than not winning the fight and not capping, or having one of our points captured back. Next, we're going to look at some map-specific stuff. So this is Bay 5. I play Bay 5 and Bowl, and we'll talk about Bowl in a moment. And usually on Bay 5, you spawn in this particular container. Now, BSG have made some changes to the way that spawn points work. And so sometimes if the enemy team is all the way over on this side of the map, then you can spawn in this fuel area over here. What this means is that players on this side of the map can spawn even right up to there, and point C is so close. You literally run around this corner and you're right here, and you can cap it back. This makes it very, very easy to control C if you're on this side. Now, if you're on the other side, if you're playing the other side of the map, so you're over on that side over there, what you can do is to block this, you can run into this little connector here. So this thing is kind of a big loop, and you run around into this fuel container section. This is where the enemy team spawns in there. And what you can do is you can stand in here. And if you stand in there, then the game will no longer spawn people in this particular section. So if you own C already, you can stand here, and lo and behold, you can actually see this full sight line here across B. So B is just here. For those of you who've lost their bearings, B is just there, and then A is across the other side of the map. So we're not going to worry about A. You can't defend all 3 points by yourself. There are 5 teammates after all, and if they're at least reasonably competent, then there's usually something that you can do about it, and this is one of those things. So if you're stood in here, you can see them. If they come up, you can hear them before they run up through. But normally, they'll spawn right at the end of that warehouse, which is really annoying for them because they have to run all the way through here to get to C. It makes a humongous difference, and it means that you keep C for a long time. Also, if they try to get through to B, you can shoot them before they come through. This is exactly what we were just talking about a minute ago. They're not expecting to have to look directly 90 degrees left as soon as they come out of their spawn point into the main area. They want to be fighting people down across the point because that's the way they're looking. Whereas if they have to look left here, you can have teammates up in the containers who end up shooting them from another angle, for example. So this point is really disruptive, and it stops them from coming through. It's useful to bear in mind the spawns like this, especially if you've got 2 points, to try to defend them. Because if you've got 2 points, you can just kind of let the enemy come to you because they've got to take a point off you. Otherwise, you're slowly just going to draw ahead by 1 point every second. So let's have a look at some of these points specifically. So if we're on this side of the map, point C here, there's only 2 routes around this little bit here. I said before, I showed you my special area here, which is, this is my favorite part. I think that this is easier to cap from this side than it is from the other side, because if you're on this side, then they can come around either which way, and there's not really much else you can do about it. You just have to kind of stand and face them. Obviously, people can come through this particular container and run over the top of this and down. I do see people fight around this quite often, and obviously they can come down this corridor as well. From the other side, you see people fighting from this particular angle. So as you come in, you do have to be quite careful. I do think this side is much harder to take C. So you have to be careful people aren't sat right up here, sat right around there. People can be in this little corner here, peeking round. More often than not, they're sat kind of where I am usually, down in this corner normally, because it's the one that's the most blocked. And again, it's the one that's the most blocked from up here as well. So it's quite difficult. And as you run around here, this is really, really obvious because you're making metal noises and they will hear you come through this particular container. There's just nothing you can do. They know where you are. And so you just have to come through here and just have a little headshot battle with somebody over the top of this. And if you lose that, then, you know, it's not really your fault. One thing that you do kind of need to watch out for is people from this side running through here and looping back, because a lot of your teammates might be facing the wrong way. This is, again, one of those disruptive tactics where you can turn up and fight people on the point and they're not even looking at you and you just kill them from behind. That makes it super, super easy. I'll point out while we're here that there is a ammo refill crate here. So if you've used a lot of your stuff, you can then go and refill your ammo and stims and that kind of thing. So I can use another adrenaline. You see I've got another trimmer doll, which I can use as well. And every time that you're out, you can use this particular crate to refill every 5 seconds or something. You can't just spam it, I think, just for anti-abuse, but you can just get your stuff there. So let's go over to B. B is probably the most complicated point on this map. It's very hard to take, and it's very hard to take back. The issues with it is that there's all these containers all around it. When you're trying to take the point itself, you either need to kind of choose left or right. I think you want to be on one extreme or the other. Now, this way is kind of okay. People are going to be running either through there or through here. Sometimes people run up and then down. Sometimes they run up all the way through and then fight you through here. So it is quite a hard point to take. You want to basically make sure that all the people are dead and cleared, and you really want people running over the top to fight people in this new section here, or at least to try and fight people down there without being on the cap point so that you don't lose your progress. Once it's capped, you can defend it quite well. There's a whole section up here that you can go up into. A lot of people, when they first playing, don't realize you can get all the way up onto this. You can get up onto these sections. Now, obviously, you will just get shot normally if you go up here, but sometimes they can end up putting you in really, really good spots, like getting over here. You can get all the way up onto this particular container, for example. There's another thing where now they have to look vertically as well. Occasionally, it's good just to be up here, just to throw them off, I think, a little bit. If you're coming in from this side, again, I think this is quite hard to take from this angle because there's only so many ways that you can really come in that are actually that great. You can loop through this corridor down here and try to enter from there, but again, it's still kind of obvious. One of the stronger points on the map is up on here. So this is a really, really nice defended little position. And also you find people run through and they use this part quite a lot as well. One of the ways that I tend to cap a lot is by running up this container and shooting at people in the cap point and then jumping down and trying to cap it myself from here. One thing that is quite handy, maybe I'll get my other guy for this. So if you see somebody capping the point at B, then you know that there's somebody on here somewhere, right? Now this side, people do often come around this box, but if you notice, you can often, if people are too far back, you will actually see their shadow appear before their character. And you can use that to your advantage. So you can, just line up and you see the shadow come in and then they appear out and boom, you can just pre-fire them. This doesn't happen if you're closer because the shadow of the box itself is like that. You have to be much further. You're basically out of the cover already if the shadow appears. So if you're like right up to it, then it's kind of fine. Oh, apparently my main character died from exhaustion. Don't think anyone's ever had that happen in Arena before. But yes, you can use that to your advantage. And from the other player's side, this is a right-hand peak, so it's actually not too bad. I think the one that I do prefer to use, let me just swap the positions of my two players. Like if they're about to cap, I'll just use any particular angle because even if you die, taking 2 seconds off them means someone else might get to them. The one I think is slightly preferable is using this box here. This one is a bit better. There's no shadow giveaways or anything like that. You get a nice tight right-hand peek, and you can look in here. And unless they're tucked right in that corner, you can see pretty much the entirety of the cap point. The main thing you have to worry about when moving in is all of the positions up here that are really annoying. Often, it's better to go and clear this first. So you can actually, if you want to speed it up, you can jump onto that, and you can jump onto this. You don't need to vault. As long as you're sprinting and you're running at the surface, then it should be okay. But you want to go and clear this first beforehand, because a lot of people like to sit up here and shoot down into it, obviously, because it makes sense. People don't know you're there. You could also go around the side as well and clear people down this little corridor. And this can be quite a good position to kind of fend off the enemy team and also not be on the cap point if your teammate's on there. So you can be up here, or you can be protecting yourself against people running around from A. You can also get up onto this box as well if you want to. Just helps a little bit sometimes in certain specific situations. You got to read the map, honestly, and decide whether it's good to be in one place or another. Because a lot of time, if you go too high up, you'll just end up getting shot in the head. Let's go and move over to A and we'll complete this map. Over this side, we've got a big long corridor that goes through and then this little room with A inside. You can either go down the corridor here to get into A, or you can run through the main section. Now, when I'm capping this particular point, I usually like to sit, it depends on which side I'm on, honestly, and where I think the enemy's going to come from. If I spawn over on that side of the map, I often quite like sitting back here, covering the entrance so people can't see me. And what I do is I use this crouch and then lean to just make my character model very slightly shorter. I'll try and show you what I mean. So if, say I'm spawning over here and someone's going to come in and capture, what you can do is if you put your character behind this particular box, obviously you can be seen here. If you crouch down, as soon as you move, your character actually moves up. So you could be shot. If you're moving and crouching, you could be shot. If you're staying still, you can't be shot. And obviously if you're leaning over, you can see it's actually, you lower down if you're leaning than you are if you're standing normally. If you're just crouching, then you're this high. If you're leaning, then you're this high. You actually cover half of your face by leaning. Best way obviously to be kind of like this or like that, and then lean out when you need to. This is the classic right hand peek situation. You know, I can see the guy's head from here. He can only just see part of my body. It's very difficult for him to shoot me from here. As long as you stay inside like this, then they can't actually see you as they move into this particular point. I prefer being further back so I can't see any of the entrance. The entire entrance is blocked by the box. So at this point, there's just no way that anybody could see me while I'm on the point until they're much, much closer. I can just about be seen there, but it's quite hard to spot you. The other place, if I spawn over on the other side, so say like the enemies are coming in through here, then you got to be behind this box. To be honest, that's where you want to be. Do not try to fight. Like what I was saying before, you want to try to get as much time as you can on the point. So what I'll normally do is tuck myself in and move myself down like that. Let me show you exactly where I am. So I'm going to be tucked in like this, and I will usually lean across or lean into the wall even to stop people from shooting at me. So if people try to shoot through here, it's very difficult to actually get you. You see, most of the shots are going to miss and go to the side. Did actually manage to clip one on the leg here. But if you tuck yourself right in like that and lean yourself in, oftentimes you can't actually be hit at all because you've got this thing in the way. So I don't think I even got hit there at all. So this is quite a nice place to be. And the main thing you got to worry about is people coming from the other side. So rather than running right in here, sometimes people do just fight you through here. And even if you end up losing, if you get 1 or 2 hits on them, then sometimes the 2 seconds is all you need. Often it's actually better to go through this section because you're slightly more covered. You can fight in this particular window without having to fight the whole angle. Because if you come in through here, people could be over there, they could be around there, they could be around here, and as you move in, they could be at the back here as well. Because if you move in through this little corridor, then yeah, you have to fight that bit first, but you can't be seen from there. And as that disappears, you then can fight this section, then fight that section again. And then as you run around, often people just won't hear you because the audio is very uncertain in Arena a lot of the time. And it just means you can run around and grab somebody because, especially if there's LMGs going off, often people just can't hear. The other one to watch out for is this little corridor. Sometimes if I go and capture the points, I'll sit myself down here or capture the point. I'll wait and just listen and listen and listen. And then once I've grabbed the point, I'll then run over to here and sit here for a minute. So people can't really see you from here, but they might run down the corridor. If they run down this to try to get some cover, then you could just sidestep out and kill them because there's nowhere for them to go. If they're coming in through here, they're often expecting you to be behind the box or at the back somewhere or around this corner or whatever. And being here is quite a surprise actually. And I've got loads of people from here. It also means if somebody runs in through this section as well, you can tuck yourself around the corner and not get attacked from this side. Depends which side you're spawning and where you think the enemies are coming from. This is more for when I'm spawning on that side and players are going to be running in here, and in here. Final thing I should point out, I guess, is the fact that there is a refill box out here as well. It's over there. So if you do use a bunch of bullets or whatever, use your stims, things like that, then what you could do is refill yourself from this box and it'll give you all of your stims back, which is quite handy. So one of the unfortunate things about Arena in general is that there is quite a lot of spawn camping that goes on, to be honest with you. I find this side of the map is easier to spawn camp than the other side. It's just something you need to be aware of because it will happen. It's part of this disruption tactics that we're talking about. The classic one is being right here. Now, if you're here, this will cause people to spawn over by C. So often only use this if you have point C and point C is covered by your teammates. Because otherwise, sitting here, it's just going to cause everybody to spawn in this warehouse instead, and you're going to lose C and then probably lose B as well if you spend too long here. But it can be useful just to make them look right, and so it means that they can't just like run straight to the front line. They're forced to fight you here first, even if they kill you. It gives them food for thought. It's kind of annoying. You can look right into the spawn from here, and you can get all the way up to here as the enemy team. I personally think that the mines should probably start like here or something, if it was up to me. But the mines start right here. So you can actually get round all the way around here as well without having any issues. You can run up into this particular crate up there and you can see into the spawn here, which is annoying. If you manage to get yourself up on top of the containers, then you can also see into their spawn from here as well. It just gives you another angle to play with. And although you can't run all the way around here anymore because you get blown up if you go through this particular section, you can also be here or at least just back here and look into their spawn from that side. There is a little lookout point. Obviously, I'm on this side, so I'm not going to get blown up when I go through here. There's a lookout point up here that you can stand on sometimes, which is useful for fighting into B. You can also, if you're slightly longer ranged, you can take people out who are stood up on that little balcony up there. And then the other spawn camp type place is on the inside here, if you're playing over from that spawn. And you can look in all the way up to there to these guys. But normally they spawn over by A if you're stood here. So usually you don't actually see many people because they're always fighting A or B. On the other side of the map, it's actually much harder to camp this place, I find. People tend not to run up here that much if you're stood here because people end up spawning over there. But you can see them either there or as they run through this particular corridor it goes up this little bit and through here and then on towards C. But they have to run kind of in a straight line here, so you can just shoot them there, and oftentimes you'll kill them as they go through. Standing here is fine. It's a bit of a maelstrom though, so you don't really have a big advantage. As somebody from the other spawn, I just showed you that you can actually sit up on top of this. So you can shoot people as they come out of this spawn here, or as they come out of here, and they're not going to be expecting you, which is really, really frustrating to play against. On this side, I really think that you should not be able to go past here, to be honest with you, but you can go all the way into here if you want to. The mines begin over there, which is kind of insane. I died of exhaustion again. And then the final side is over this way. It's not really a spawn camp, this one, to be honest, but you can sit in here, and people are not expecting you. They'll run right past you, or do a double take and have to shoot you from there. You could stand on this side instead, behind this barricade. Again, as they run out through here, you can shoot them without them knowing that you're going to be there. And you can even be all the way into here if you want to, and you can grab people as they're coming down this particular corridor down here. So overall, I do think that the map is probably slightly biased towards this particular side. This side you can get spawn camp quite easily. So one of the most important things, if people are really making a mess of your spawns and they're running up, because a lot of the time, you know, you can run up to here and you can maybe sit behind this truck and you can fight people into the spawns from here, for example. A lot of the time, you need to just go around and clear. If you're the one who wants to try and increase your win rate, you can go around and try and clear people out. So you either need to run up into here and shoot these guys, run up into here and shoot these guys. And it does get a bit frustrating because you may be down on points. But the issue is if you don't clear these people out and you don't give your team the ability to push through and get to the front line, you're just going to be on this back line the whole time. They're going to own all the points and it makes it really, really hard to come back. We're going to move on from Bay 5 now and we're going to talk about Bowl, which is the other map that I play. As I said, I literally only play these two maps. Bowl is a lot more strategic than Bay 5. It's less crazy because the map is a lot bigger. The issue with this is that if you're playing against a coordinated team, it is much easier to lose very, very hard on Bowl. The spawns are also very campable. And that goes for both sides as well, so you really, really don't want to be pushed back. Okay, so the broad layout of Bowl, you've got A on this side, you've got B, which actually is inside the helicopter. We'll go and have a look at that now. So that point is in here. And then you've got C, which is out through the helicopter and out on the other side in this little courtyard of containers over there. So let's start having a look at a few pieces about Bowl. So Bowl is kind of similar to Bay 5 in some ways. You can spawn anywhere along this back line. And on the other side of the map, you can spawn anywhere along this back line as well. You can be in that corner over there and all the way up to this corner. Now, it does take quite a long time to get from one place to another. So if you spawn on that far side over there, it does take quite a long time to get over to A, which is kind of part of the strategicness that I was talking about. So let's go and talk about C first. I'll talk about spawn camping in a moment, but let's just look at the actual points themselves. So C itself is kind of sat in this sort of middle area. Where the enemy can come from if you're on that side is from down on this side. There's a little ramp up here into this sort of like back alleyway up here, which is how you get up into this section. And this is where people end up sitting sometimes to kind of spawn camp you, but we'll look at that in a moment. You can walk out of here, and you can also be in here to stop people from going up. So either team can be in this section. There's another way up on this side, which is through this particular ramp here. And when you're inside and capping the point, typically I'll just hug this wall, because what that means is that you either need to defend against this side if you are on this particular team, and if you're coming from the other angle, you'll stand here and you just need to worry about people coming out through there. Because what you can normally do is hear if they're going to be coming around here, or you can hear if they're going to be coming around there. Again, my mantra is that you want to protect yourself as much as possible while you're capping the point. So you just want to see if people are coming around here, you can hear them, and you can like move a little bit just to stop them from shooting you quite so easily. And they can really either come in through here or here. Occasionally they come in through the top, but you'll normally be able to hear that. And if you tuck yourself right in, it's quite hard for them to see you. As I said, again, on this side, you're basically just looking through this little angle there. Like, they'll probably know where you are, to be honest with you, but you'll hear them running up normally, and at least you can have a little fight. Like, maybe move yourself up as far as you can, so that when they cut the angle, they have to take another half a second or something before they spot you within this particular area. This point's not too crazy in terms of defense. People can be sat behind this box sometimes, so you can't necessarily see them. Also, you can actually see quite close into their spawn from this particular side. People will often just be in this particular area. All right, so let's go and have a look at B next. B's got two entrances, one from this side, one from the other side, as we saw a second ago. And this makes B a lot easier to take than it is on Bay 5, for example. And when you come into here, clearly what you want to do, so if you're on, say you spawn on this side, and you run into the helicopter here, this is the only place that really they can come in. Sometimes people run up and go this way, but they're really exposed to the entirety of your team spawning in here. So 80% of the time, they'll be running in through this particular door. And as you're capping, you have to be quite near the center. So what I do is I get myself right up close to this and I lean across like that as well. So as they run in, they don't see you because you can hear them as they run up using the metal on their footsteps. And what you do is you just stand up and headshot them because you get that little bit of peeker's advantage as you move like this. Or you can sit like this and just move across slightly sideways as they run in through the door, let them come in, and then bam, get a headshot that way. So exactly the same principle works from the other side. So you run up, get yourself into here, lean yourself there, wait and listen, hear them when they come in, because they're expecting a fight as soon as they come in. When they don't see anybody, it confuses people, and then you stand up and then you shoot them. That's often what I end up doing. Now in this particular map, there is a respawn point for items just here. So you can refill your equipment there. And then point A is down here. Now point A has a very, very long set of sight lines. One down this side from this spawn. So it goes all the way from this spawn all the way up to here. It's blocked by this truck. And then this side, again, here, all the way down to there. So this is kind of where the snipey boys usually sit. And it's very difficult to take. This one's an annoying point, honestly, because it's quite exposed. The best point, if you're on this side, is if you move across over to here to these stairs, you can get onto the point just here. This can be quite hard to attack into, to be honest with you. Normally, the ways people come in is either straight through, which is easy to kill them. Up there is a bit annoying because they can come up this ramp. I'll show you that now. So if they come up here and they move in through there, this is probably the best place for somebody to come in. Or they can run straight out of their spawn, which is over on this side, and they can run in through here and try to get you there. But usually they're too late if they come in this way because you're hidden right there. The way to counter that is to come in from this side, but it is just quite hard to get in on and do that one. From this angle, the best way to go and capture the point is probably here. It is quite tight, so the circle doesn't allow you to capture from this side here, but if you're just there, you can capture and be behind this, and so people who are coming up this side can't see you. The one place that you need to be worried about if you're there is actually people through here, because when they're coming out of B, they can stand on that little bit there and shoot you from most of the map away, so they can just run out of B and then they can see you in here. This is another tip, actually, I guess, if you're coming out of B and A is being capped, often you can look through here and you can find people who are sat in this particular section. This does mean that if you're over on this side, then maybe you're better off covering yourself like this, but then you've just got a straightforward fight with these guys. And usually I find people tend not to use this sight line. They do occasionally, but they tend not to. The one other place over at A that you need to be aware of is up in this little building up here. So there's actually this sort of weird medical building, and this goes from a ramp up from one of the spawn points here, so you can get in through here. So you can either go up and drop down, or you can run around to this section. This is quite good sometimes if you're on that spawn, because you can see people who are kind of camping up here. A lot of the time there's people who are leaning across and they're looking through, not spawn camping, but they're sort of looking across half of the map, a lot of these routes and the entrance into B from this particular side, especially if your team already owns C over on the other side of the map. Okay, so next we're going to look at the spawn camps. Now, there are some particularly awful and evil ones on Bowl, but I do think it's quite symmetric. Bowl has horrible spawn camps on both sides. So if you spawn over on that side of the map, because we'll look at that first because we're near the spawns for this guy, there are a lot of fights that happen here in particular, just outside of A. So you can look through here and shoot people there. You often find DMR people having these fights, but what you can do is you can lean your weapon over to the left and you can just peek out and you can shoot a lot of people as they come through here. That resets them and puts them back into their spawn point, wasting their time, which is great. As you come across here, you can also sit here, which can be quite annoying because they don't know you're there, and then you pop up and shoot them as they come out of spawn. You can be right into here, but you can't go any further. Another place that's pretty annoying is to sit in here. As they come out of spawn, you can shoot them from this side. This also allows you to cover part of the helicopter as well. This set of boxes is kind of in the way, so you can sit all the way back here if you want, and that allows you to cover this and this. So you can pretty much see the entirety of the enemy spawn. I think this side is actually weaker. If you're spawning in here, I think this side is actually slightly underpowered compared to the other side, particularly because of this point. If your team has quite a dominating position on the game, you can have a couple of people who are just here, and they can shoot people as they come out of spawn there, and then they can literally just swing round. Now you can't be seen from that spawn anymore, but you can shoot into this section and this section. You can cover every single route out of the enemy spawn from this one place, in theory. I don't usually see people sat up here, but you could, I guess. The other way is being right up against these boxes. This is really, really annoying as people come out of both this lane and this lane. You can go right into here and you can shoot people up to that. I think the mines only exist there, so you can be like right in here, and it's really painful. Again, I think the mines should honestly be like right up to there if it was up to me. And then with this one, you can go right up to this thing and you can shoot into here. As I said, you can sit up in this corridor, you can sit on these staircases, and sometimes even you could just sit right here. People are not expecting you to be there, or even in the corner, to be honest with you. You can be like slightly behind the sandbags, and as people run out, you can shoot them from the left-hand side, which is a right pane. The other place I quite like is being on the stairs, because you can't be seen from that one there. And as people run down this corridor, you're shooting them from this like weird elevated position, so they have to move their gun up and stuff. It's just hard to respond to this, to be honest, and it's really difficult to deal with. On the other side of the map, there are some spawn campy type places as well. Not quite as many because the points and the routes aren't as collected as they are on this side. But this guy, you can be all the way up to here. You can hear people coming through the metal container, and you can just peek and shoot here. If you miss there, you can then run back to this one and force them to come around here. If you miss there, you can come back to this one and you can shoot people from here. That works quite well. You could technically be up here if you want to be, so they don't necessarily know where you are. If you're behind this set of boxes here, it takes a long time for people to be able to see you. So you can't just be silent in here and grab people without them expecting it. Now, the reason why I think that that side is better is that you can only see this point if you are in this section. You can't see this if you're anywhere else. So if you're getting dominated over there, for example, you can just run through in your own spawns and you can run up through this section, and that can sometimes help for you to, I don't know, just split the enemy up a little bit, make them focus on another point. Whereas if you're getting dominated over on this side, it's really, really hard to come back. Another one is if you're spawning over there and you're running up to here, you can get all the way into here. If you manage to push all the way up into here, this is a super, super annoying position to be in. As people are running out of these two lanes, you can shoot them here, and it forces them to look left and right as they're coming out of their spawn points, which is a pain. And you can, in theory, run around here, and there's a little container there that goes down to C, and you can shoot people from here too. This is probably the best position if you're in a winning position from that particular spawn. It's a bit like the box camping position over there, but obviously C is not quite as powerful as on the other side. You don't need to be in the same place every time. You could be in here, for example, and shoot right into their spawn there, because you can get all the way into here. So I'm actually from the other team, so this shows you that you can get right up into this bit, which is crazy, to be honest with you. And people have to either run through there or through this corridor. So people tend to sit up here, for example. This, you can cover that over there. You can see a bit of the C spawn over there. You can see this container here. You can see this kind of long alleyway over there. Or you could sit right behind this box. You can cover this part. You can cover right into this part. People haven't even gone through this container yet, and you can already shoot at them. This is a really, really annoying place to be. So Bol has a lot of spawn camp potential. And if your team is winning, or even if you're not winning, sometimes just being able to run up into one of these positions and get a few people as they run through changes the whole dynamic from a 5v5 into a 5v3 or something. Because two of their players are like running out and getting shot immediately by you. And it allows the rest of your players on the map to win. Even if your players are not as good as the enemy team, it's still difficult for the enemy team to win in like a 3v4 situation. Just because there's enough of your guys. And if some people are capping, at least, then often this will allow you to win. Obviously, you're going to have to play the map yourself quite a few times to figure out exactly where and where you can't be shot. For example, you can be shot at through here, and you can actually hit people if they're in B and they're stood in the wrong position. I'll show you this from the other side. For example, if you're in here, then you can actually shoot down into this particular corridor there. I don't like standing here because I don't like getting hit while I'm capping the point, but if you've already capped the point, then maybe you could be there. But yeah, I mean, it does take some experience as well, but hopefully I've shown you some of the places that you can be and some of the sight lines and the angles and the ways that people end up actually winning. So I did load up the game on my other account just to check what's going on, and I'd forgotten that you can't actually even get into this menu if you haven't played 3 games of Arena. So at the beginning, you only have these standard presets. Now, it's been a long time since I looked at these, and it looks like BSG have actually done a pretty good job of rebalancing them. So you have Assault, Enforcer, Scout, and Marksman. They've mixed this up quite a bit. So Assault now gets the best bullets for full auto guns, but can only have Class 4 armor. Enforcer gets the best armor up to Class 6 and face shields, but can only run weird guns like shotguns and LMGs. Scout can get Class 5 armor, but can only really run SMGs with decent but not amazing ammo. And then Marksman gets ridiculous ammo, but you could typically only put these in things like DMRs, and you can also only wear Class 4 armor, and you can't really wear any helmets. So this is kind of how it balances out. So the base classes for Assault are pretty good. So you've got Jaeger here, which is the HK416 with M855A1. None of these classes are actually particularly bad. You get 4 magazines, so this has 49 damage and 44 pen, so you will one-shot people's Class 4 helmets. This is quite good. The HK build itself is a bit ropey. 58 ergo and 79 vertical recoil is not great, but at least it's serviceable. So the other one is red. You've got an AK-74N, and the build for this is about the same. It's not that great either. It's okay, but it's not that great. But for this one, you get BS, which is pretty good. You've got Leon, which is the Mark 16 Scar, so lower fire rate, but the way BSG balanced that is allowing you to take M905, so that's okay. All of these come with Class 4 armor, by the way. So honestly, I think all of these are serviceable, depending on what you like, and have a little look at the sights and see which ones you prefer. On Enforcer, the one that I like the most probably is Alpha. I actually use the RPDN myself when I play Enforcer. A full drum mag of this with PP in it is pretty good. 59 damage and 41 pen is very decent. You have Class 5 armor both front and back. You have a Vulcan helmet, so this is going to block quite a few shots, especially from SMGs, because they won't kill you even if they go through, like an MP7 bullet won't actually kill you even if they go through in pen. The other ones I'm not so sure about. This guy, the MP153 with Flechette, it can work, but it's a little inconsistent. You do get Class 5 armor on all of these, by the way. And then the M60, I find these a little unwieldy. I don't really like the LMGs. Some people use them quite well, to be honest with you. And then you've got a Class 5 helmet. So this is actually probably the most well-defended one, but you don't have any protection really if you get shot in the front of the face. My choice here is probably Alpha, but you might want to choose one of the other two. On Scout, I think the ones that are best here is maybe the MP7. So I like the MP7 myself. This comes with FMJ, which is okay. You have Class 5 armor, which is also pretty good, but only a Class 3 helmet. So this isn't amazing. This is just going to get penned and you're going to die. The MP7 does have kind of low damage issues. So as we looked at before with the Enforcers, you won't one-shot these guys in the head, which is really annoying. Python, on the other hand, has got the SR2M, This comes with 7N42 Zubilo, which is 49 damage and 40 pen, and this has been boosted up a little bit in Arena, so the stats on the bullets aren't necessarily the same, by the way, between the two different games, so just be aware of that. And I think this one is pretty strong. You've got a CQCM mask, so an MP7 shot actually won't kill you if it hits you in the face, which is really annoying to deal with, but that's another story. You've got class 5 armor on and a really good headset, and you've got 3 mags. I think this one is probably the strongest scout class from the pre-builds. This guy with the M3 Super, this is not that great. You can put it on semi-auto, but it's not as fast as the 155s. I just don't think this is that great. Then on the marksman side, you've got this guy, which is the DVL. Now, why would you ever run a DVL in Arena, you might ask? Well, there's a special bullet that doesn't exist in the base game called Ball 11 Long Range. This does 59 pen and 95 damage, so this just one-shots people to the chest. And this is the way to balance out the bolties in Arena. So this can be really annoying to fight against. If you like bolties, this can actually work really well. Carbon is probably the best balance. G28 with 80 vertical recoil and 38 ergo, but this guy comes with M61, so this is going to delete everybody if you're playing against a lot of enforcers, or even people playing scout, to be honest. And this one's pretty good. And then you've got an SVD here. I find the SVD, it's actually quite fun in Arena. This has probably got BT in it, which again is really good bullet. This goes through a lot of people's armor and stuff. You only get class 4, as I said, with the marksmans, you only get the class 4 on them. The SVD is a little bit more unwieldy than the G28, so I'd probably go with Carbon if I was going to go with any of these builds. So my recommendation would either be any of these assault builds. Enforcer, I'd probably pick Alpha. Scout, I'd either go for Stinger or Python, but Python's probably the strongest. And Marksman, I think you can pick either the Bolty, if you really like Bolties, or Carbon with M61, because I think this is pretty good. So let's have a quick look at some classes as well. I think the two best classes to use is probably either Assault and Scout. These are the ones that I have my sensible classes set up on most of the time. And I did have a look on my second account just to see what was locked, because it looks like the M4 is actually really locked to quite high levels, and I think you need to spend Lego medals on it now or something. Whereas the AK-12 you can get access to. So all I'm running on the AK-12 now, the reason why it's quite good is that you can get 7N40 ammo, which is what I tend to use exclusively. Now all I tend to do at the moment is just use a headset. I was using the good headsets, but I actually found them slightly confusing in Arena, so just try a few different ones and see what you think. I'm using the face visor. This one's only class 3. The regular one is class 4, the one that's blank, but that's only available on Scout and Enforcer. But I do find that ricochets do happen quite a lot in this game. The AK-12, I've got this set up with just some basic parts, to be honest, an AK Evo. You'll unlock these as you play. I don't have a suppressor on it, and I have a vertical foregrip. But one of the most important parts about these guns is adding like a laser or a flashlight. So I've talked before about point fire, but point fire bonus does also exist in Arena as well. And I'll show you this. You can go into the shooting range. So once you've set up a particular class, let's just have a look at the armor again quickly beforehand. So I've just got myself an ANA Tactical M1, and inside I've just got class 4 armor, actually in the front and the back. You could technically change the back plate over to a class 3 if you want to. I find that often the class 4 does actually save me sometimes, but I know other people disagree with me, so it's kind of up to you. But in the shooting range, I'll show you what it looks like. Now, when you spawn in, it will have the laser on by default, and what you need to do is use your modifier key to turn it onto a IR laser. This one is this guy, the L3 Harris LA5B PEC. And I'll go through and I'll show you the difference between having it on or off. So currently we're on the night vision mode because I just did Control T, which is my change tac device mode. And you can see how good that is. Right, I'm going to reload my gun. I'm going to turn it off. And I'll show you what this looks like. It just makes it so much harder to get headshots, honestly. Like if you're going around the corner and you're firing and it's going all the way up here and stuff, like this is 10 times easier than this. Like it's just so much better. So you need to basically have one of these on every single weapon, if at all possible, and make sure you understand how the fire modes work. So for example, on the AK-12, I've got this L3 Harris on the side. For the M4, I've got it underneath. For the AS Val, this one time I've got a D-Bal on it, but this one just sort of fits off at the side. The ones that you can't usually do this with is Enforcer. Enforcer guns don't normally take it. Even though they've got a rail for it, they're not allowed. They're just banned from having these particular devices, which makes them really annoying to fight in point fire. For the P90 on the Scout, I think I've got the L3 Harris on this as well, actually. Yeah, I've got that one on there. So most of my weapon builds will have it on. Even things like the SVD, what you can do with Marksman, because the only thing you could do is the Wrapped AR. But the Wrapped AR does actually have a laser and infrared sight on it as well. So you can see here, this is the laser mode, and this is the IR mode. This does help even on semi-auto if I just keep the mouse in the same place. And then I'll turn it off. Clearly it matters a bit more for full auto than it does for semi, but you can see there's a tighter spread here versus this. So yeah, on Assault, I think probably the first thing to unlock outside of just using these standard classes, which as I said, I think are actually pretty good, is probably the AK-12. I think the AK-12 is one of the best guns overall for Assault. You get a really good range of ammunition. I should probably mix in some BS or something in the top of my magazines. I might do that after this actually. In terms of stims, There's a few different choices. Some people take ETGs. It's really up to you, honestly. I've got a few extra points here, so I could probably maximize this in a bit of a better way. Ones that are pretty good are Trimadol, because this gives you the pain removal, and I've got this on the enable auto use, so you can actually change the game modes in which you enable or disable them. So you can have it enabled in all modes, disabled in all modes, or you can have it enabled in certain modes. This means that, as I said before, as soon as you load in and you're respawning, this just uses it every single respawn. I only play the respawn mode, so I want Trimadol every time. Perforteran, this is the one that stops the bleeds for 60 seconds, but it also gives you health regen of 1.5 a second as well, so I tend to just use this if I get hit and I'm bleeding. Alternatively, people tend to use Zagustin. That's something that people use because that means it's just not going to run out, so you can put Zagustin on and you can have this activated at all times. It's very unlikely you're going to run out of 130 seconds in Arena, especially in the respawn modes. Then you can get rid of Perforteran and put something else in instead. Some people like the ETGs, but this combination of stims is actually pretty expensive, so you usually have to sacrifice something else on your kit, like a backplate going down to class 3, and there's nothing wrong with that. You could do that if you want to. I'm not sure exactly how much the class 4 does actually help, to be honest. Then over on Enforcer, I think the RPD is okay. This build actually looks very similar to the one that you get as the basic preset. The only difference here is that I do actually have a reload here, so if I'm using my stim, I can reload into this particular weapon. I'll show you exactly how this works. This is the little trick. So if you fire your boobin off, boom, 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 and you need to reload, well, what you can do is you can press 9 for Perforteran and go into here and do install. And then you've got your entire magazine back. It doesn't work very well in the shooting range, so it has actually broken this. But in the actual game, it'll give you another one of these mags without having to do the full reload. Because if you see how long the normal reload is, it takes an eternity. For these ones, I'm using the Vulcan 5 helmet. I quite like this because you don't get deafened by wearing no helmet at all. The M60 is not bad. This one comes with M80, which is pretty good. So this has got a full box of M80 in there. I tend not to use these that much. I don't use Enforcer that often. And then I have a Saiga full auto using Magnum buckshot. This is quite fun for hitting legs. It's not a very good gun, honestly, because the amount of recoil combined with the recoil on Magnum makes it really, really unwieldy. Sometimes it's just quite funny. On Scout, I think this one's actually pretty good. These are some of the best ones. I think the SR2M and the P90 are probably the ones that you want to unlock if you can. The MP7 does take a bit longer. You need to do like a bunch of dailies and stuff, but the SR2M is pretty good because this guy can get a 7M42. On Scout, you can get like a class 5 MMAC, which I've got here. I've got 5 in the front, 3 in the back, the CQCM mask on the front, and then a bunch of different stims. This one I'm running Adrenaline. I'm trying a few different things out for the stims, but you can play around with these as well. I don't think I've actually settled on what I think is good for these. It also depends on which class you're on because different classes get different stims. So for example, Scout can't get an ETG, but Assault can. So it kind of depends on which class. And I'm not fully settled on which stims I'm going for, but either way, the build is actually pretty easy. The P90 is also quite good. This guy can get SS190, which is fine. It's like 49 damage and 39 pen in Arena, which is a little bit better than in the base game because they have adjusted them, as I said. This has got class 4 only because I couldn't fit it into my preset loadout to have for more than 3 mags, but it's quite nice having 50 rounders sometimes. And then the MP7 one, which is good. This is 5 and 4. This guy's got FMJ SX in it. The only issue with this is that the 45 damage with the 41 pen means that sometimes you won't actually kill somebody if you shoot them in the CQCM with 1 bullet. You have to hit them twice, which I find really quite annoying. So I've moved over more to using the SR2M, to be honest. Over on Marksman, I don't actually have any good preset setup here really. I'd probably just advise using these standard classes up until this point because a lot of the guns you can't unlock them until later. So even the G28, for example, you can only get this if you reach level 10. And this loadout is pretty good. You get M61 in there, you get class 4 armor, and you get decent headset. I don't think this is fine, honestly. This is a fine preset to use. You don't actually need to make one of these until quite a lot later. So there you have it. That's how I tend to play Arena. I pretty much just play Checkpoint on those 2 maps. I also play Last Hero sometimes, but Last Hero isn't as critical because it's not required for the 2 Great Heights questline. And although it is probably the easiest place to get kills in some ways, there's no kind of loss for failing like there is on the Checkpoint matches. So that's why I haven't really focused on it. As I said, I've currently got a 70% win rate over about 50 games, which I think is like pretty good. And I had a around 75-65% win rate last wipe as well. So I do think you can have a disproportionate effect on your team. But if you want to ask any more questions about it, then do feel free to come over onto the live stream and just tell me there. Otherwise, as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.